Yeah, hello everyone. Um, Good evening. I'm Dr. Surya Prakash. I'm chairman-elect of ISU. On behalf of ISU and the chairman ISU, Sujata Madam. Madam is little bit busy. She'll be joining in another 5-10 minutes. Uh, I welcome you all for this first webinar of Indian School of Urology, a very interesting topic, artificial intelligence in urology. So we have star-studded faculty for this webinar. So I invite all the faculty and Secretary USI, Dr. Uttam, Dr. Rajeev TP also may be joining very soon. It's a very interesting concept, much talked about subject, but many of us do not know what exactly is it and what its role in urology. The convener for this interesting topic is Dr. Ahul Gupta. I thank him for choosing a very interesting topic, which will generate a lot of discussion, I hope. And he has selected very interesting faculty who can deliver the best for this subject. I invite Dr. Rahul Gupta to take over and start the webinar.
Thank you so much, sir. And we shall be waiting for the ma'am to join. And I'm really thankful to all my faculty which has said yes to for this webinar. Even I'll be learning. And there is a very famous saying for AI that everybody speaks about AI. If you see net, if you see TV, if you see news, everybody is talking about AI. Nobody really knows how to do it, what it is exactly. Everybody thinks everyone else is doing it right. It is like a teenage sex. But so everybody claims they are doing it. So there's a lot of confusion in AI, like a teenage sex. So I think today we have a star-studded faculty, as you said. And without wasting time, I'll just request Dr. Malik sir to start and throw a light on what AI is, because he's the apt person. He's the first person in India who did a very, very nice workshop on AI, and we came to know what AI is going to be. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, let me share. Okay. I think I'm not going to tell about. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
Your screen is visible. Yes.
I'm not going to tell what is AI. I think everybody knows what is AI. But what we should know about AI, I just want to clear, because majority of us, including me, we were all completely blind about what everybody talks about how to do AI, how it can be incorporated and how it will be useful for us. But we don't understand what is the change management, what we need to get across into ourselves before we think about incorporating AI into our day-to-day practice. Let us understand what are all the things which will disturb or possibly which we need to understand before we think about incorporating AI. That's one thing which I wanted to cover. You all know that there is an artificial intelligence. It's going to be day-to-day life here afterwards. What you see today in Digiyatra, your selection of movies that happens on Netflix or probably on a Google search, a thing what you wanted to buy comes out as an advertisement every time, and or an Amazon search, or even the LLM models which you are using like Perplexity or a Chat GPT, etc., are all some form of AI which is being used by us in day-to-day life, that we all know. And to certain extent, we also know that AI is useful in healthcare, which is diagnosis of the diseases, especially medical image diagnosis, drug discovery, personalized medicine, medical robots, electronic health records, clinical trials, outbreak prediction, etc., for epidemiological consequences. I don't need to say specifically what is advantages of AI. We know very well. And what is the most common way of, at present, what is available, what is there is medical imaging analysis. AI algorithms can analyze often surpassing human capabilities in the same images what is fed for a long period of time. A voluminous data is analyzed and they'll be able to pinpoint or predict the possibility of an abnormality and diagnose the disease also. Disease prediction. You look at a brain image or a CT scan of the brain, which will be image segmentified, and then feature extraction was done and will be able to predict whether there is a patient is going to suffer from Alzheimer's in future or not. So this is another way of what is related to image. Reading the image, it is the most easily available data in image form, which is digitalized already, is easy to analyze, and that is what is happening. Your facial recognition in a Digiyatra is nothing but image analysis. In a similar fashion, medical image analysis or histopathology analysis also is being happening in the present day, which is going to be coming into market, and it is available already. There are other things which are going to crop up in the near future is going to be personalized treatment plans based on the biomarkers in the body and some other molecular markers inside the blood, and sample it and think about what are all the possible diseases that can be there and what all the possible treatments that can be instituted for that particular part. The second thing is going to be real-time monitoring, which is already existing inside. There are AI beds. Patient lies down on the bed. He'll be monitored regarding his BP, pulse rate, everything, and it will be updating any abnormality to the concerned physician or to the managerial cadre at that point of time. So this is already existing. Remote patient assistance. This also is existing. Patient is somewhere at home and the healthcare professional will be able to get the information about it and be able to advise and whatever remedial measures which are necessary. So all these things are AI based. Coming to the operational efficiency inside the hospital system, it is completely automated now. In fact, 30 to 40% of the cost savings are going to happen by giving this administrative task automation, putting the billing claims, everything in the hospital efficiency, including resource optimization. How many of us know how much is going to be the inventory available inside the pharmacy for the next month based on the previous year's utilization during those months' time? There's no point buying everything and keeping in the pharmacy or overbuying it and keeping in the pharmacy. Adequate buying for requirement based on the previous data which is available. To that extent, the indent will be going on. There is an automated indent of what are the medications, what are going to be necessary for the next month usages inside the hospitals that can happen. Efficient use of staff, inventory, and facilities, and clinical documentation improvement. Everything gets documented. That's a great thing that can happen so that it can be read by anybody, it can be analyzed by anybody at any point of time tomorrow. Research and operations, we know that there is a drug discoveries that is happening based on AI. There is a data analysis which can be done very fast and large voluminous data which can be analyzed at a fraction of a second. Staff burnout reduction can be easy because majority of the things are automated and they can still concentrate on their specified way of work or specified focused work rather than day-to-day mundane jobs. Handling the data overload. All these are possible with an AI. So the future prospects which are going to be there are going to be precision medicine based on the genetic, environmental, and lifestyle factors. And what is going to be coming very fast into the market, already existing in some hospital, is autonomous virtual health assistants, which will take care of many things. Your follow-up visits, your follow-up advisors, small doubts in the patient's mind, and everything can be analyzed, and their follow-up timings and appointment scheduling, symptom checking, everything can be done by this virtual health assistants. You might not be answering on your WhatsApp for many patients of yours who are putting questions to you, and you will never be able to find answering those things, etc. So everything can be done, and majority of the questions, 95% of the questions what the patient asks you, or majority of the things can be done by this virtual health assistants itself. Only 5% of the times they'll be upstaged, and possibly your requirement might be necessary. So ultimately, over a period of time, you'll see AI-empowered healthcare professionals completely taking the help of AI into administration, into day-to-day operations, into personalization of the medicine, into follow-up of the patients, monitoring of the patients, and advice to the patients, etc. So if you know the objectives of AI into healthcare, it is basically to improve the diagnostic processes, decreasing the possible human error, decreasing the healthcare costs, making safer surgeries, information sharing, and processing of the data for future utilization. But one thing you should understand, the more tough part which is going to be said today is going to be this: challenges in adopting AI. Everybody thinks that you buy as AI software, it will get incorporated and everything can be done. No, nothing happens like that. Only few things can be done. That is image identification. Like you feed an MRI data, reading whether it is there positive, there can be a malignancy or not. Feed a histopathological data, identification. So image related data only can be identified and then can be utilized. So rest all has to be customized and to be incorporated and developed. So what are all those challenges in adopting this AI? It's not going to be day. Even if I want to create everything in AI environment in my hospital for the next 1 year duration, irrespective of the cost, it is not possible. It is not going to be possible. So what are those challenges which come in way in adopting AI? Number one, data related issues. The biggest problem is going to be data quality and accessibility. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. So what is the quality of data, what you're going to put across is going to be of ultimately important. Most of our hospitals have a fragmented across different systems. Each person records in a different fashion. Each person records it in an irrelevant fashion. Somebody writes EKG, somebody writes electrocardiogram, somebody writes E.K.G. So there are multiple ways of putting the same data. There is no standardization of the whole thing. Difficult to collect. Second thing, in a patient who is there inside the hospital for a period of 4 days, there is a multiple places where the data need to be assessed or collected. It is a timeline. It is not a fixed photograph which need to be analyzed. It is going to be a timeline which need to be analyzed. So is entry points, exit, and his operative details, and his monitoring the issues during the drug charts, etc. Everything has to be loaded into the file, into the system before the data can become relevant for patient usage. So it's a very difficult thing to collect. It is not easily pulled. Incompatible EMRs. I have one company EMR, somebody has other company EMR. It is incompatible. So you need to have a universality. If you're having a collecting data from 10 hospitals, that whole data has to be having a compatible EMR system to be collected so that it can be analyzed. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to process that data. Second thing, data security and privacy. There are many strict norms coming up into picture now. So collecting the data may be easy sometimes, but creating a secure and a private environment for it is going to be very difficult. So to summarize, it should be relevant, it should be valid, it should be accurate, it should be reliable, complete and legible data. So not a small issue. So this means everyone inside the hospital will be working against doing this collection of a proper data at every level. So there is a technical and implementation challenges. What are those? Number one, integration with existing systems. You have 10 or 20 types of systems inside the hospital. A CT scan machine, a MRI machine, a monitors, a operative endoscopes machines, etc. Who is going to collect the data? Everything has got to be integrated into one system, or the data has to be collected and integrated into things. So is it integration possible? It's not easy. Modification to IT systems, clinical workforce, and administrative processes has to happen. There should be a collaboration between the clinical teams, IT teams, and AI teams. It's not easy. The clinical team doesn't corroborate with the administrative team itself. Forget about the AI team, new work coming into their place, and it will become much more difficult. So interoperability standards and open APIs, these are roadblocks for implementing this AI processes inside. Second thing, scalability and continuous improvement. To start with, there is a AI process which is discovered, which comes into play, and we start using it. So we have become an early adopter. But what will happen unless you continuously improve it, depending upon the medical knowledge or depending upon the relearning what happens on the AI? And if that improvement doesn't happen and that regular updates doesn't happen, it cannot be converted into an early majority. So a bridge has to happen between these early adopters and early majority, and that is called AI chasm. Many AI companies which are startups which are coming up, which will become popular initially, can never reach this early majority because they can never get updated. They'll never be able to analyze all the data and get updated to the, and at least getting into that real world time solutions that can happen at the end of the day. If those things don't happen, all these companies will dip into this AI chasm. Human factors, trust and acceptance. How many of the staff inside the hospital will readily adopt the AI? How much resistance you will have to incorporate this and ask them to put the data correct collection? It's very difficult. Your own staff inside the hospital, your own staff, sisters and nursing staff will not be able to do the same job what they were doing all these days in a proper fashion and in a better fashion to collect the data. There is a resistance in adoption. There is a cost constraints which will come into place. So there is a worries about the privacy and lack of human touch when it comes to into this situation. Lack of AI education and training. So how many people are really trained? You need to employ a lot of people to supplement intelligence to rest of the people who are already in job. So there is a people who are very well trained, There is a people who are not trained very well. So there's a clash of the whole staff which happens inside the organization. You can't replicate everybody in a single day. Financial constraints. To do these jobs, there is an implementation cost which is going to come. There's going to be a lot of investment that goes in without any guarantee that you will have end results which are going to be of utmost usefulness for you at any point of the day. So expenses related to this training and integration and implementation, who's going to reimburse that? Are you going to pass it on to the patients? Are you going to take it on to the hospital? In which case, hospitals will go into loss. So these are the financial constraints which will come into picture and this stops AI implementation process. So if you want to have fantastic AI, that's more going to be expensive. So it's going to be multiple factors which will definitely influence the financial constraints which are going to be there. So as I said, interoperability, monitoring, and updates, all three things are continuously going to be happening. Interoperability, multiple places, similar sort of a standardized data formats. It cannot be differentiated. So those standardized data formats have to be there. After normalizing more than it is after standardization. Establishing an interoperability standards is essential before you take it across. And after going to post-market surveillance, you need to surveillance the data. Am I continuously updating it? Am I getting the expected results out of it? Are my decisions which are coming out of the AI are clinically workable or not? Are they acceptable, validatable or not? These are going to be bigger issues. And because everything, there may be a change in the regulatory compliance which is necessary if there is a change in your interpretation at one point of time based on past data. So it's going to be much more going to be tougher and tougher as the data improves and the change of decision making starts happening. Who's liable? If there is an unclear accountability, if the AI assisted medical errors, who's going to take the responsibility? Is it a healthcare provider, AI developer, or both? So there's an uncertainty can deter healthcare organizations to adopt AI solutions. If there's a malpractice insurance, who's going to be the responsible? Nowadays, they are forming the rules, and EU is the first thing to form the rules regarding who is going to be liable and responsible. So there is an ethical and bias concerns which can happen. Algorithmic transparency. That means explainable AI. AI will suggest you a solution, but will it explain why it has suggested a solution? That's a black box. That's called black box nature of the AI. You don't know whether it is correct or not. It is giving a suggestion. But are you able to get this clarity because why it is given that solution? That's going to be more important in medical healthcare related industry. That is very, very important. And second thing is bias mitigation. Do you think that geophysically all races are going to be the same? They have a similar sort of a picture. They're going to have a disease patterns. They've got a similar sort of a symptom patterns. So what is evolved in America may not be hold true in Asia. What is evolved in Africa may not hold true in Russia. So something like that. There is a inequitable healthcare across, inequitable health data and a characterization of the disease across the world. So we cannot be contemplating. We cannot be justifying X data to Y data or a Y population. So data privacy and security regulations, as I said, there are many regulations which are coming to picture, and everybody is still adopting to regulations. We are not still clear what regulations are going to be coming into picture. Even FDA is still developing the security regulations behind it. So FDA. So now it comes AI coming into healthcare. It says as SAMD, that is called software as a medical device. So that requires a specific regulatory requirements, and that is going to take regulatory framework is still evolving, and we still don't have. So liability and responsibility is still not to be defined, not yet defined. Balancing innovation and compliance. You need to comply for the regulations. You need to innovate with the data available and update relearning process that's going to happen. If there is a change in your process, you have to go back to the compliance again and then get a regulatory approval for that. So it's a constant process. That means it involves an expense. So you need to have a team which is involved into a balancing innovation and compliance. For this compliance sake, you don't stop innovating also. So you need to collaborate with experts, foster culture of compliance, leverage technology, and continuous monitoring and improvement is a process for AI. It cannot be said, I put it and it's forever for next 10 years. No way. So top 10 challenges are data quality, overcome prejudice and build trust, integration to the existing systems, address regulatory concerns, interdisciplinary collaboration, scalability and upgrades, mitigating bias, constant learning and adaptation, and continuous improvement, and address cost and resource constraints, which are going to be very crucial for Indian market. To summarize, stay informed. Have a clear strategy what you're going to adopt regarding comprehensive leadership and skill development. Operational, streamline the process, workflows and monitoring. Culture, change management, address the fears in the staff and stakeholders. Workforce, recruit the people, upskill, interdisciplinary collaboration has to be incorporated. Ethical, look at security and regulations, and ultimately look at whether the data what we are being analyzed and getting is patient-centric, is it improving patient experience and getting personalized to the patient or not. So look at it as an augmentation of human abilities and intelligence rather than replacement of a human intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the nice introduction and to the AI and what we really wanted to know from you. And before I go further, I really want to apologize. I think Dr. Rajeev TP has joined. Can't see him. But Dr. Uttam is here. So I think Dr. Uttam will, he's the USI secretary, a very dynamic one. He's an elder brother to me also, but that is besides the point. And I missed his introduction. And sir, please, please. I really apologize for the protocol.
Rahul, there's no need to apologize. This is customary stuff, and So anyway, good evening, everybody, and I congratulate Dr. Surya Prakash for becoming the taking over as ISU chairperson elect, and of course, Dr. Rahul is just like my younger brother for being the convener. And nowadays AI is everywhere. So what is AI and how it is to be done? All the speakers are there. I am not here to say. I just say a little bit of history, if I am correct. I think it was in the 3rd century. It is all started in China. So people wanted to know whether you have a machine which can perform, which can replace the human being or not. And subsequently, there are so many developments. But 1950 onwards, all the developments had come. In the initial phase, the machine which was invented, which performance was lesser than the human brain, then it comes equal to human brain. But what we are having today is more than the human brain. That's why today you should be AI literate. You have an AI-aided pathologist, you have AI-aided geneticist, you have AI-aided radiologist. So they can do the work faster and more accurate. But that doesn't mean that they are going to replace all your colleagues. So that's why in your office space also, what Dr. Mallikarjuna was telling, that everybody should be AI literate. And that is going to help us a lot. And with this short introduction, welcome to this school again. I think our principal or headmistress is not there today, but Surya Prakash is going to play that role. And
sir, I'm very much there. I'm listening to you.
Okay, thank you. So I think without wasting much time, let us listen to the experts. To me, I was just going through the topics. To me, the most interesting topic will be, everybody knows now a little bit of AI. Everywhere, any conference, some topic will be there on AI. But the main question is how to learn about AI. And I heard Professor Bhandari sir has already started some project in India, but I am not sure about the details of that. And he is going to take that lecture. And definitely that will help us so that more and more of us who are interested can be AI literate urologist. With this short introduction, thank you very much. Dr. Surya, of course, Dr. Sujata is there. And Rahul, thank you very much. And I think you can continue.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry for the breach in protocol. Thank you very much for your comment. Dr. Rahul.
Yeah. Now I'm going to invite a faculty who is a PhD in machine learning, deep learn. Sorry, something is going wrong. So he is Dr. Andrea. He's from Italy, and he's quite good in artificial learning and AI. So he'll introduce us to some of the basics of AI, what Dr. Uttam just said. So Andrea, you can please take over the things and start your talk. Thank you. Thank you for coming with us.
Okay. Thank you to Rahul. Thank you to Dr. Mahendra for this invitation. that we share.
Medication, they are taking this one.
Just give me a check if you are able to see my presentation.
Yeah, we can see everything nicely.
Okay, so today I want to share with you why integration of domain knowledge with technological competence is very important, is fundamental in developing a clinically relevant AI application. As my colleague said before, we frequently hear talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. But before to deep diving into AI application in urology, I would like to express two concepts related to the machine learning, deep learning in particular. Because as we move from traditional machine learning to deep learning, power increases. Deep learning models can handle a vast amounts of data and achieve impressive performance. However, explainability decreases. So traditional machine learning methods like decision tree, for example, are more interpretable than deep learning models that act more like black boxes, making them harder to understand and trust in clinical settings. So let's consider three fundamental questions that will guide our discussion. The first one, how does the computer see the data? Because as humans, we process information intuitively, but computers perceive data very differently. Understanding this is key to appreciating how AI model works. The second one is, where does the power of deep learning come from? Deep learning has revolution as an AI-driven application, but what makes it so powerful compared with traditional methods? And the third one is, what about the black box phenomena? Because this is one of the biggest challenges in artificial intelligence. To do this, I would like to show you a toy example about the machine learning, because it is about classifying flowers from the famous iris dataset, which contains 3 species of flowers: setosa, versicolor, and virginica. If I show you a new flower and ask you to classify it, how would you proceed? You would like analyze a specific feature, no? Like different petal or sepal length and width, but even colors, shape, texture, and even possible knowledge about botanics, possible previous knowledge. A structured way to formalize this decision process is using a decision tree. If the petal length, for example, is below a certain threshold, you may classify it as setosa, and so on. At each step, you make a logical, interpretable decision based on measurable characteristics. This approach is very similar to traditional machine learning, where models learn explicit rules from the data. Now, let's look at how a computer perceives the same classification task. On the left, we see a decision tree, on the right, sorry, and a simple machine learning model that mimics the structured decision-making programs that we saw before. At each step, the model asks a question like, is the petal length greater than a certain value? Until it reaches a classification to the leaf, to the node called leaf in this decision tree. And the important things, and that unlike humans who recognize colors, shapes, texture, and previous knowledge about botanics, for example, machine learning only processes structured numerical data. So we can see to the left that the picture becomes an array, a numerical array, only with length, width of the petal and of the sepal. In this point is crucial the involvement of a domain specific or domain expert of the doctor, because it is important to make something called feature engineering. In other terms, to select which features are relevant in order to classify a specific things. But in medicine, the data are far more complex because, for example, on the left, we have an abdominal CT scan and like a sync cross section, but as we know, medical images as a stack of slices, and from these slices consisting of hundreds or even thousands of slices, we can create a three-dimensional representation of the patient's anatomy. Unlike our previous example, where each sample was described by just 4 numbers, here every scan contains millions of pixels per slice. And these pixels are critical diagnostic information. So traditional machine learning are not able to face this complexity of this data. So deep learning models here can process these high-dimensional datasets, identifying patterns and features that may not be immediately obvious to the human eye. Here we see three different three-dimensional rendering from the kidney of a tumor. Each uses distinct colors to highlight different characteristics. This could represent, for example, the blood flow to distinguish well-vascularized tumors, the tissue density of the wall thickness to help differentiate benign from malignant structures. Traditional analysis relies on radiologists to interpret this feature visually. However, deep learning models can quantify and can extract patterns from thousands of slides to provide a more detailed characteristic of the lesion. What you see here is a representation of a deep neural network consisting of only 2 layers, but in the reality, these networks are composed of hundreds or even thousands of layers with millions or billions of parameters, like in the case of the, for example, large language model like ChatGPT. This complexity is what gives deep learning its power, because it enables the model to detect the intricate patterns in medical image, like textural differences in the tumor or hidden correlation in a CT scan. However, this complexity also comes at a cost, because we don't always know how the model reaches a decision, because it's difficult to explain its reasoning in a clinically meaningful way. That is what we call the black box phenomenon. It is one of the biggest challenges in the applying artificial intelligence to the medicine. We have seen the power and the challenges of the AI in medicine, but to develop clinically relevant AI, the expertise of the doctor is crucial, because AI cannot work in isolation. It must be guided by medical knowledge at every stage. And to illustrate this, I will present a recent AI application in urology, and I want to highlight 3 key areas where the role of the doctor was fundamental. The first one is the feature engineering, because selecting the right inputs for the model is critical. A model trained on the wrong features will never produce useful results, no matter how advanced it is. The second one is the meaning of the data, because AI can find patterns, but it does not inherently understand what they mean. Clinical expertise is required to interpret the model's output and to ensure that it aligns with medical reasoning. And the third one is the usability, because even the most accurate AI model is useless if it does not fit into the clinical workflow. AI tools that are practical, interpretable, and seamlessly integrated into everyday practice. With this point in mind, let's examine a real case where AI was applied at urology and see how these 3 factors played a role in making it clinically valuable. I would like to show you this AI avatar as a surgical planning assistant for kidney and prostate disease that we developed in Italy in collaboration with the University of Torino. Here we developed a machine learning algorithm to predict the surgical approach for best functional outcome in patients for nephrectomy and prostatectomy. And so based on preoperative variables, intraoperative techniques, we we classify, we perform, we optimize the outcome. So in the case of the kidney, the 3 months eGFR, and for the case of the prostate, the trifecta value. Whenever we talk about AI, we cannot overlook to the fundamental importance of the data availability. So without data, AI simply cannot exist. So usually when training, we use training a test set in order to train and to evaluate an AI algorithm. This is done because measuring performance on the training set only will be misleading due to the high learning capacity of the AI algorithms. So the test set must be extracted in a way that preserves the characteristics of the entire dataset, ensuring its representativeness. It is not only about statistically measure, but the domain expert here, the doctor, has to think about all possible cases to ensure the dataset taking into account everything, of course, in the limit of the possible to do. In the plot shown, we see a two-dimensional PCA representation. Is a technique of dimensionality reduction, where each X represents a patient, and the color corresponds to a different intraoperative technique combination. In this case, clamping strategy, resection technique, and suture techniques for the nephrectomy. We focused on the 5 most frequent combinations found in this dataset, and the proximity of X points indicates patients with similar preoperative characteristics. Yet they underwent different surgical techniques, represented by different colors. This highlights the strong heterogeneity in surgical making decision. During training, the model learns the impact of each surgical strategy by observing its outcomes across diverse patient profiles. On the left side, in this slide, we see the preoperative variable used in the model, which include both clinical parameters and features extracted from radiological images. That's the crucial point where the role of the domain expert is very relevant, because here we are talking about the feature engineering phase. On the right side, the blue curve represents the actual decline in eGFR, 3 months post-surgery, while the orange curve, which follows it so closely, represents the model's predicted values, demonstrating its accuracy in outcome prediction. Our model achieved an impressive accuracy of nearly 90%, with a very high Pearson correlation. And these performance metrics were calculated on the test set, of course, because this reinforcing the model's ability to generalize. In this way, intraoperative techniques were incorporated into the training process in the same structured manner as preoperative variables. And leveraging this structured approach, combined with the previously mentioned heterogeneity, allow the model to learn how each variable influences the others under different conditions. At different time, the model works as follows. It takes as input the preoperative variables of a new patient. It has never seen before, of course. The possible combination of intraoperative variables are added, or better, the combination of intraoperative variables defined by the surgeon as possible. And the model processes all this information and generates an outcome prediction for each combination. Finally, an optimization step is applied to determine the most favorable surgical strategy. This transforms the model into a sort of simulator, allowing surgeons to predict postoperative outcomes based on patient characteristics and on different intraoperative parameters. The avatar is an hybrid AI system composed of a data-driven machine learning and deep learning component for outcome prediction and intraoperative variable optimization. A generative AI component for lip sync, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and interactive communication with the user. Here, this combination makes the avatar an intuitive and powerful tool for preoperative planning. And here, that's the other point where the medical knowledge was very relevant, because in order to make this tool friendly for the operating room, we have to know the knowledge of the surgeons.
Here is the clinical case.
Here I want to only show you some images, some video from the using of this tool applied to in a real case scenario. Here we were at the TUM, the Technical Urology meeting in Torino.
Care of Professor Porpiglia. She has a Charlson comorbidity index of 4, an ASA score of 3, and a BMI of 22.
So here the avatar make a briefly introduction of the patient.
She is a non-smoker, comparative blood work. The tumor is located on the right.
After that, a moderator, a surgeon, asked to the avatar to make a decision for what is the best clinical strategy to optimize the EGFR.
Kidney, with a clinical size of 38 millimeter volumes, with 2 section. The collecting system require further details to minimize the decline in EGFR at 3 months while taking into account the associated risks of the surgery.
And finally, of course, the surgeon can ask for a different intraoperative techniques combination.
It's on clamp, pure enucleation, and a double layer suture. First of all, I would like to.
And the avatar, of course, will able to simulate this new combination and to return the new prediction of EGFR to 3 months. So I finished my presentation. So thank you so much for your attention. It was a real pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Andrea. This looked quite interesting, the last video you have shown. I hope that the surgeons are not replaced or get influenced by the AI avatars. Dr. Bhandari, sir, if you are there, can you please give your comments on Andrea's presentation?
Hello, Rahul. Can you hear me? Thank you for inviting me to this very interesting meeting. And Andrea, I met few weeks ago while I was attending this meeting at Turin every year, organized by Dr. Porpiglia group at Torino. This meeting every time brings something new and cutting edge. And I didn't know Andrea Simeri. He was there at the beginning of program, but when I saw that the next level they have taken to in this meeting is that if you do a surgical technique in partial nephrectomy, they predicted the EGFR of this patient in different techniques. And that was the next level according to me. And I was talking to Dr. Porpiglia about how he did, and he introduced me to Andrea. And Rahul had already loaded me to ask about something. The key point which I wanted for the Andrea when in discussion I wanted was to emphasize on this group of urologists that it's a very complex thing to really understand these things besides what you read in newspaper or hear in the news. And that's why the cutting edge centers have a very thick collaboration with the technical people. Andrea, as I understood you correctly, you are currently pursuing a medical doctor's course, isn't it? He's a PhD and he is doing MBBS equivalent to it. And same thing I expect from some of the charged young Indian urologists to do the master in computer science or the data science, because it is so complex. It is something which I understand beyond collaboration. Until you understand the other field, it is very difficult to come out with the insights which you can use in clinical practice. I think, Andrea, thank you very much for coming and talking to us, and we'll keep bothering you because Indians are really charged in the urology world to understand more and practice, because we sit on the gold mine of data and a very skilled set of specialists here operating them. And there are infrastructures which keep data, and we hope that sometime we'll collaborate with you in building models and bringing them to clinic. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you too.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you once again for joining in, taking out time. Now I would invite Dr. Raghunath, who is into AI in a big way. He's a uro-oncologist. We all know him. He's from Bangalore. Dr. Raghunath, have you joined? Yeah. We cannot hear you, Raghunath. We can't hear you. But you are not audible. You are not audible.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear me. But you are on two lines. Raghunath,
Hello?
we cannot hear you.
Oh, there is some.
Yeah, echoing. Raghunath, your voice is echoing a lot. No, we can see you, we cannot hear you. No, we cannot hear you, we can see you. Can you hear us? But we cannot hear you.
Can we move to the next talk if there is some delay? Because Dr. Raghu?
Okay. I think till we settle down the things with him, I'll just go to Dr. Rajeev sir. He's already joined. He's a great speaker, we all know. And we'll just go with his presentation and come back to Raghunath. I'll just get in touch with him. Dr. Rajeev, thank you so much for taking out time on a busy schedule. You can please start with your presentation.
Thank you, Rahul. The schedule is only busy because there's good stuff to do. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, I can see you smile, so obviously you've heard me. Perfect. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to see Dr. Bhandari back on this platform once again with all his work on AI. My part is relatively straightforward. It's to talk to you about the role of AI on publications, to a little bit also on research, the good and the bad that can go with it. So let me see if this allows me to share my screen. It does. Okay, are you able to see my screen now? All right. So we're going to talk about AI in scientific publications. Let's begin with some disclosures. A lot of what I will say in the next 8 or 9 minutes actually comes from work that's been done by other people. I've contributed a little bit to it, but it's not entirely my work. And it primarily comes from two organizations, the World Association of Medical Editors and the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, where I both serve on either the board or the committee. And also, I must disclose that I did use ChatGPT to get an idea on what to speak. And that's an exact example of what you should use large language models for and what you shouldn't use large language models for. And that's what we're going to be discussing. So where can AI be used? The answer actually is everywhere. There is virtually no place where you cannot use AI. And when we're talking about AI in terms of research and writing, we're talking primarily of large language models. You've heard Andrea talk a little bit about the breadth and the scope of AI. It's massive. And what I'm talking about is only the most recent and, of course, the most commonly used and interesting parts to the common man. It's a replacement for Google, where Google only gave you search answers from what existed in the repository or data that existed or websites that existed. That's what Google gave us. What large language models now do is not only read that stuff on pages that's written somewhere, they interpret it, they give you a concise answer based on what they think you need to know. And that's a crucial word, what they think you need to know. And then we've gone beyond large language models, which can simply understand your language, into what's called generative AI, where not only will they tell you what exists or knowledge what exists, but will also create content and give it to you. So that is the next form of large language model, which is called generative AI. So in terms of research, what can it do? The answer is everything. And it's an absolute gold mine for residents. You can just go home, tell ChatGPT, I've joined urology at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. I need to do a thesis. Sure, sir. 2.5 years down the line, you have a 2,000 or a 3,000, whatever number of words you want, a number of pages you want thesis. That's what it can do. It can do everything for you. From hypothesis generation to developing the research question, everything. That's the extent of power that the current generative AI models have, because they have enough data to understand that what is urology, what is residency, what is aims, what is thesis, what is typically done in such research works, what is expected to be known, and therefore they can use that knowledge to create an entire thesis for you. Therefore, it can do everything in terms of research. And when it comes to writing, it's exactly the same thing. All you need to do is tell it, please write a thesis for me. And Harshit's going to do a few talks after mine. He's going to tell you how you can do your entire seminar, your entire lectures, your entire thesis online. So that's exactly what AI can do. It can do everything for you. It can also review your manuscripts for you. Therefore, the question is why and why not? It's not about what can it be used for. It can be used for everything. The question only is why and why not. So why and why not? Why is obviously easy. It makes life easier. If I want a thesis, I want a research project, I can't think for myself. The why is easy. It will do it for me. But what are the issues? Inherently, everything that generative AI models do come with their own biases. At the end of the day, whatever has been fed into it, whatever it has learned, like any other human being, contains biases that each one of us has. Therefore, it's well written, but it has bias. It has distortions and misrepresentations. That's examples all of us have seen over the past few years. Let's take a simple example. You say, I have a seminar on, let's say, genitourinary tuberculosis. And please give me 20 slides on genitourinary tuberculosis. You're a second year resident, you go into ChatGPT, please give me 20 slides on genitourinary tuberculosis. Less than 30 seconds, you'll get 20 slides on genitourinary tuberculosis. But do you know the subject? You've got slides, you've got material on it. But is that the material that you need? Does that solve the purpose? And that's the question of ethics. Why do we do all this work? Why do we write? Why do we read? Why do we publish? Why do we present? Why do we do seminars? Do we do it to fulfill our necessity, tick a box, and that's the end of the story? Or do we intend to gain knowledge, learn, and disseminate what we know? That brings us to the next question when it comes to manuscripts. Who's actually writing it? Who is the author of this content that you've just presented? You've written a beautiful article. Maybe you've done a narrative review, even a systematic review. Actually, it can do anything. Who's the author? What is the guarantee that there is any accuracy in what's been done? At the end of the day, it's a machine that's given you an answer. And if you write 20 such papers, do you actually become an expert on what you've written when you probably know nothing other than how to run ChatGPT? This brings us to another important question that actually came up even before ChatGPT or similar large language model or generative AI model-based publishing came in, and that is what's called public paper mills. Paper mills are models which are extremely lucrative, financially viable models, whereby there was no data, no content, but an entire manuscript was written. Not just one, multiple manuscripts without the existence of any data, and it got published widely. So these were all fake papers. They became prominent a few years ago. The first society that detected it was the Royal Society of Chemistry, and it's very interesting how they detected it. They saw some Western blots on a particular paper, and the paper got published. And a few weeks or a few months down the line, another paper got published in a completely different journal on a completely different topic and a completely different subject, but with the same Western blots. And it took some really smart guy to see that the two Western blots are the same. But while one is talking about condition A, the other is talking about condition B, which means there is nothing genuine about anything. They've just taken one set of data and published multiple papers on unrelated subjects. That's what ChatGPT, that's what generative AI can do. At the end of the day, it's giving you an opinion based on data that it already has. It doesn't give you data that's original or its own. So what is the whammy position on authorship, reviewing, and writing. And this is for all of you who use it to write. And like I said, I do use it at times to understand knowledge, to get knowledge. That is valid. Learn from it. It's a very powerful tool to give you answers that you need very quickly, but it can't be an author. You can't write a paper using ChatGPT. If you do use it at any part, for example, you've used it to improve your language or to make better tables, you need to describe it very clearly in your disclosures that this part has been done through generative AI. And at the end of the day, every author is responsible for every content. Similarly, sometimes reviewers will use ChatGPT to review articles. It's very easy. Upload an article and say, please critique this article, and give you 20 pages of critique on it. All that is invalid because, again, that brings in its own bias. And if you're as a reviewer using it, you need to disclose what you've used. So what does the ICMJ say about it? The ICMJ is the parent body. That's the International Committee on Medical Journal Editors. Same story. All authors must disclose all use of AI, large language models, chatbots, whatever you've used. How you've used it. Did you use it to conduct data? And again, it's useful. Remember, I'm not saying AI is bad. AI is brilliant. Large language models, ChatGPT, all these things are exceptionally powerful and useful tools. But that story has been said so often. A fool with a tool is still a fool. You say it for robotics, you say it for this, you say it anywhere. Use it to learn, to understand what you need to learn, what you need to read. It'll tell you GUTB talks about the following things: pathogenicity, incidence, prevalence, diagnostic tests, management, imaging. Use those as bullet points to learn what you need to learn. And at the end of the day, you could find the same thing in Campbell also. You just have to do it a little more work to get it in Campbell's. ChatGPT will make it easier and give you those answers on a screen, but you still have to have the brain to read it, interpret it, and then write it. So the bottom line, the use of AI in publications or research is primarily based on large language models and generative AI, like I've just described. This is just a small part of AI. This is not AI in itself. A very small, but of course, the most innovative and exciting part of AI that we're seeing for the last 2 or 3 years. It can produce everything. Of course, all of us have seen examples of how it can produce images. Deepfake is just one example of what it can do. It can produce an entire set of images. You want to show a laparoscopy port with 3 brilliantly done port placement surgeries, then it can show you that. But the generated data is fake. This is the first thing we tell anybody who comes to do research: cannot be fake. The arguments that it gives are what it thinks are right. They may not be right. You can use it to get Q points, but at the end of the day, you need to use your own brain to decide whether it's right or wrong. You can't just accept what it gives you. You need to have domain knowledge yourself to be able to understand whether it's right or wrong. And finally, almost no journal that I know of allows you to list AI as an author, and any use of AI anywhere needs to be disclosed. Thank you very much once again, Rahul, for asking me to be here. It's been a pleasure, although I got joined in a little bit late, but it's been fun anyways. Thank you.
Sir, as Ms. Prezim, it is always a privilege to listen to you, and you're always crisp and on the point. Dr. Apul is there. No better person to give a conclusion or summarize your talk. Dr. Apul, please have your word on this.
Thank you, Rajeev, for a wonderful presentation, as always. So, as you have already highlighted, as I also read, ICMJE, the international committee. So they also do not say that AI written manuscripts to be rejected. Actually, they just say that you have to disclose. So often this is a question that whether you can use AI. So I am not sure how to answer this, but in case someone is using it, it needs to be disclosed. This is probably the current understanding. Another interesting thing about use of AI in writing manuscripts was that even if the manuscript is written by the author himself, not used AI at all, and if you put it in a computer and say whether it is written by AI, so many even human written manuscripts, the computer will say that the use of AI was there. Only 0.4% in one paper, they say that only 0.4% of the manuscripts that were written by authors actually, and when they were put on computer to find out whether they were written by AI, so only 0.4% were found that they were not written by AI actually. Rest of the manuscripts, the computer said that the AI has been used. So that is the problem actually. So what is happening is, even if you write your own manuscript, people might start thinking that you have used the help of AI for writing the manuscripts. So this is an issue that is coming up actually. So so this again needs to be addressed subsequently.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
thanks, Apul.
Listening
I'll
to
just
both
clarify.
of you, it shows that it is an interesting times, rather a confusing transition time is always confusing. So I think this is the transition time. Let's see how 2 or 5 years down the line where we stand. Thank you, both of you, for joining. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for taking your time. Dr.
Thank you.
Raghunath, I think you are ready with the things. We can see your slides very nicely. Raghunath?
You're not able to hear him.
Yeah, now we can hear you also. You can please go on with your presentation, please.
Raghu?
Raghu, we can't hear you. We can see your slides. We cannot hear you, Raghu. Can anybody in the technical team help us with this thing? Is there any Navneet?
Sir, he has to log out and then log in again.
Okay,
There may be a mic issue.
Okay, we'll just ask him to do that.
Raghu, can you hear us?
He has to log out and then log in again. Raghunath, if you can listen, please. Can you do that?
Oh, yeah. He's not muted. We can see him.
Till that time, I think we can take the... we cannot hear you, Raghunath. We can see you. We can see your actions. You log out and then log in again. Can you do that, please? Till the time, I think we can take the next speaker if the next speaker is ready with us.
Yes, sir.
Harshit, you had a wine glass. I think now you can see everything clearly. Please carry on the things.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is something, a very different type of topic. We have been talking about AI with a clinical practice. This is something which we all suffer day in, day out, especially in conference talks and, when we are making presentations, is, how can AI or, software tools help us in making better and faster presentation? We are fortunate to do some sessions in the last zone, North zone, and then in USICON in, YOU session there. So, these are some sort of slides which we have used there. And so, a disclosure, I'm not a program developer. I'm just an enthusiast trying to learn some tools. I'm not professionally trained in using these tools, but we learn them using online. I did some, AI work during my fellowship in US, which was more on genomics and AI. And I would like to acknowledge two of my colleagues, Dr. Dharmendra and Apurva Gupta, who might not be there, but, with them only we have been doing these, AI based some sort of, how to make presentations and some sort of workshops in various conferences. So, AI is there to help us making presentation, mainly two things: to enhance the creation of those slides and to help us, deliver those slides more effectively so that, people, they stick to our presentation, they don't get bored. And so how does AI helps us? It helps in better data visualization, better content generation, better images, just to make your attention span better. And it helps in saving their time and enhance efficiency. So we all know these things. So it helps, in doing your time management and better visual appeal. So I'll go directly to how do you make smart presentation using AI. And Chat GPT has come big way, and all of us are using it. So we'll take a live example. So how do we use Chat GPT to make an academic presentation? So as a uro-oncologist, we often ask, to make a talk. And so I've been asked to make a talk on VIRADs and bladder cancer. So today on live screen, how do we make this talk? So we just open the AI, just write, Chat GPT 3.5, which is free. You can also use 4, Mini 4 or, 4.5, and just, ask it just like a friend. Hello, I want to make a PowerPoint presentation for a conference in urology. Can you help me? And so, the AI, this is the response that, the chat GPT will generate. It will give you an outline. You define the topic, this title, slide, introduction, background, main content. So it will give you some text. But, you have to make it more specific because you're not happy. It just gave you something. So as everyone says, garbage in, garbage out. So you have to give it some concrete question to, expect a concrete answer. And so I make it a better question. So can you help me make a PowerPoint presentation of viruses in bladder cancer for around 30 slides? Supposedly, it's like 15-20 minutes presentation. I want 30 slides to be made. But to my dismal, it gave me some sort of, all these slide 1, slide 2, slide 3. It gave me just a, outliners and headers and subheaders, and did not, actually give me the real content. So don't get depressed. Many of us just try this thing and we get, saddened and we say, oh, it's not working. So, talk to him like a friend. So, I said, dear ChatGPT, please provide me detailed content for each of the slides for presentations, including images. So it's all about prompts, what you talk. And the prompts are nothing. Yes, there are, there are ways you make learning with the prompts. But the basic idea is you tell the just like you're talking a friend and like a human intelligence, you're asking some questions and, you are expecting the similar answers. And so at that time, you'll get a better answer. But the problem is everything is in the text form and you have to do a presentation. You don't want to copy everything. And so we are stuck again. And so then something, you again ask your friend for the help. And so this is something which I want all of you to know, because, if you want to give some basic, lectures, so just the PowerPoint or these answers in Visual Basic codes. So you just ask them, please write VBA codes for the whole presentation from slides 1 to 30. And so, the ChatGPT answers that here is a complete VBA code to this. And this sort of, code comes in and it's a complex code, but you have a copy code option just on the left side top corner of the screen. You click that, copy the whole code. Then you go to your simple PowerPoint on your computer, go to Tools, go to Macros, and you will find an option there called Visual Basic Editor. So when you go to this Visual Basic Editor, this screen will pop up and it will ask you to insert any module or any code you want to write. And you just click Insert Module, and it gives you a blank screen where, conventionally the software developers can write their code, but what AI or ChatGPT is helping us, you can just do a copy code. And, all the copy code is there. And once I did and press run on the top of the screen, this is the presentation I got from the AI. So, they have given me some detailed information like what is DCE, diffusion rate imaging. This is not perfect. It's just giving an outline. And once you delve in more and more, you'll get a better presentation. But these are very bland and very boring. You don't want to present those slides anywhere. So what next? So there are some tools which are beyond ChatGPT. So now one of the apps I'll tell you is the Gamma AI app. So it is also a AI-based, tool which can help you generate the presentation as well as the content. But, as I've been using it more often for past, years, and many of us have been, what we feel that the power of the ChatGPT, the content is very strong as compared to any of the other AI tools. So it's better to get the content from the ChatGPT and maybe use other tools to beautify your presentation. So let us give you an example how the second app, which is a Gamma app, these are all freely available apps, as well as the pro version where you have to buy them, works. So this is one of the recordings done by one of my colleagues, Dr. Dharmender, using this app, how to make a full presentation on this app. So he wants to make a presentation.
Create new, generate presentation, and write a small topic here. Like I've written impact of artificial intelligence in urology. And I have a basic outline ready for this topic. As soon as I click continue and I select a theme,
Are you guys able to hear him? Like his. So it gives you a much attractive presentation. The content might not be that strong, but at least your presentation becomes, more attractive. And this is somewhat AI is helping us. And you get a full presentation, which you can export to your PowerPoint. So what about our presentation? So we were talking about Virat's presentation in bladder cancer. So we can, there is an option like you can ask him to make a fresh presentation, or you can actually upload your presentation and beautify it, or, make it more, attractive. So I just uploaded my presentation on their website. I press continue. They asked me some questions that, what are the amount of text you want to keep per slides, and some general theme patterns. And they say very strongly, you are limited to 10 cards or 10 slides. If you want to use a free version, they will only make 10 slides at a time for you. And if you want a better, then they have to buy this using Plus or Pro, which is some sort of subscription money you have to pay for their portal. So once I gave them the presentation, gave some basic idea of outline, they asked me the theme. I just went to the standard theme, and then I just click OK, or I said, export to the PowerPoint or a PDF, whatever you want. And this is the same presentation of that content which I got. So, you can see the remarkable difference. And all this is done within, within a span of a minute or two, just by clicks. So this is how, these are the tools which can help you beautify your presentation. The same, black-white presentation has been modified to some sort of, with attractive diagrams and color combinations. So it is not about any particular tool. There are other tools as well. One more tool which I want to share today for a smart presentation is Clip Drop AI, which, this video will help you. So it is.
So this is another artificial intelligence website, ClipDrop, which has multiple tools like stable diffusion, uncrop, in which you can the AI can reimagine the rest of the photo and make a bigger picture. Reimagine, clean up to erase any unwanted subjects, unwanted objects, remove background, relight, image upscaler, replace background, and even sky replacer.
So there are certain tools, which can help you make an attractive presentation. So I'll take this one photograph example. This is during my fellowship, we were doing hot yoga there. These are my mentors from UT Health San Antonio, if anyone can recognize Rob Swatak and Dharam Kaushik and others. So, this was taken in the outside the yoga room. We didn't like the background per se. So I just removed the background. So this picture was like this, but I don't want to be, plain white. We were doing yoga. We were at this, our sky limits. We were very enthusiastic. We were full of energy. So I thought, maybe we can go towards, galaxy, but it was stationary. And so, we can, a simple photograph can be modified with the help of AI tools in seconds to make it more attractive. And so I hope, you're freaking, a lot of people would feeling excited or, so it is not about one or two tools. There are a lot of tools, and, it's just, keep spending some time learning and, keep trying. And then, gradually, of course, there are sort of professional courses are also available online by a lot of, software people. So apart from, how to make a smart presentation using these tools, there are a lot of other tools like askyourpdf.com, which can, can give it up to 100 pages long PDF, and it will summarize everything for you. Of course, Merlin extension is there, which has, made our life with Google very easy. Then there are tools which can help you with the reading of the articles, magazines. So in summary, now AI is the future for the smart presentations. It helps you to get better accessibility, better engagement of your ideas, and audience, and get better, maybe greater innovation to present your work for the people. So as we all know, as everyone in AI world says, it's not AI will not replace you. It is the people using AI. It is here to stay and it will augment you. It's a very far-fetched question whether it will replace the complete human race, but at least, just like when the computers came in 30, 40 years back, everyone was so fearful, but everyone who's in computer has become more smarter gradually. So that is what, but as Professor Rajeev Kumar said in one of our workshops itself, and today also he reiterated those words, that a fool with a tool is still a fool. So when using AI, you have to have the domain knowledge, you have to see what you're speaking and what AI is answering you, because ultimately it is the data which has gone in, which is coming out in a processed form. And with this, I would like to thank the ISU, Dr. Rahul Gupta, and all the committee members for giving me this opportunity to share this sort of a unique presentation. And I think I'll rest my presentation here.
Thank you, Harshit. Every time I listen to you, I learn something new. And Arvind is there. Who better than Arvind to summarize your talk? He's a dear friend also, my colleague also, and we started doing presentations together. But now I think it is changing everything, making it more complex. Arvind, can you please have a word?
Yes, thank you very much, Rahul. Excellent presentation, Dr. Harshit. I liked your last slide wherein you said that people using the AI will replace everything rather than the AI, and I think that is the crux of the matter. AI is all the rage, and everybody is talking about AI. Everybody is investing in AI. Everything is being enhanced by AI. But I have got a word of caution for everybody, which actually has been brought in the discussion by Professor Rajeev Kumar as well. That AI, I must say that right now it is a bit overhyped, and we have to be a bit careful about it. There is no question about it. AI output always, I feel that it looks very good, but it doesn't make the presenter look good. This is something that one has to remember, because we can recognize that a presentation is being done by AI. AI can help you in brainstorming. It can help you in organizing everything. But you cannot completely rely on AI, at least in 2025. Maybe as things will improve, maybe we will be there at that point in time. I would also like to means all good things Harshit has told, and I'm sure that this would be the future. There is no question about it. But we have to also remember that there are a few things which we have to remember, particularly from the copyright angle. We have to remember that there are certain ethical issues that are also there. Remember that AI is not the author, neither he is the presenter. The author and the responsibility lies with the presenter. That is something all the residents and the young urologists should remember. Professor Rajeev Kumar has also commented on one thing, is that the misrepresentation of the content. And this might also happen if you completely rely on the AI. So one has to be very careful in this regard. Make sure that you are not, because we saw in those websites that Dr. Harshit showed very nicely, it is very likely that you might be encroaching into the privacy of somebody. So whenever you are going to use such things, make sure that you are not encroaching into that aspect. AI, although it is very intelligent, always make sure that you customize and design everything, because AI is going to give you everything generic. We have to customize accordingly what we want. But all said and done, Dr. Harshit, really it was so amusing, enlightening, and I'm sure that this is going to be future, and congratulations for the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I think just add a quick comment. I think the SIU also, many of the international speakers and most of us, they had added in disclosures, that AI was not used for this presentation or what tool has been used. So this is a very important point. Like I also mentioned in my disclosure that, Gamma app and, was used and ChatGPT was used. So this is a small line, right? In paper writing also this coming up. So at least have a disclosure to start with. That is something, we all can start with, and while making a presentation that AI has not been used or AI has been used. And then, of course, we'll see how the ethics will form up around this.
Great. Thank you.
Great, Arvind. Excellent analysis of the talk. Very apt. Thank you very much for joining and taking your time. And Raghunath, we are ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Come on.
Yeah,
you can start your presentation.
Yeah. Can you make me a screen share?
Is open. It's open for you.
Yeah,
You can do the screen share.
Yeah. Can you see?
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, thank
Raghunath
you.
is an excellent speaker, so we listen to him.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul, and thank you for this opportunity, USI and ISU. So I'm not going to give introduction. Role of AI in day-to-day urology practice. Where do we stand? I'm standing in between AI and deep learning. Let us not waste time. I'm going to discuss under these headings. I'm not going to touch upon what is AI. All those things have been covered by previous speakers. And I'm going to show you 15 minutes is not sufficient to cover all these aspects. I'm just going to give you some perspective, what is happening. This may be useful for the urologists and postgraduates. So I'm going to touch upon just one slide. Gist of what is happening, I can tell you. Is that okay? Yeah, this has been covered. ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek. I will not dwell upon this. So diving directly to stone disease, because Dr. Rahul has asked me to cover stone disease and robotics. Based on the CT, if you give CT data to AI, what it can do, it can accurately distinguish the stones containing uric acid from others, and its accuracy in distinguishing uric acid stones from non-uric acid stones is about 75%. I will just give conclusion so that I can cover more topics. Whether it can differentiate infective stones versus non-infective stones, yes, 90.7% it can identify or distinguish infective versus non-infective stones. And when you are planning ESWL, it can also predict what are the chances of hemorrhage, renal hemorrhage during ESWL, depends on the number of shocks you are going to give at whatever intensity. And ANN has been utilized for both ESWL and PCNL in predicting the outcomes. It can tell you what are the chances of fragmentation and even clearance. It can predict the outcomes of PCNL. And when small ureteric stone is there, 5 millimeter or 6 millimeter, what are the chances of spontaneous ureteric stone passage? It can tell you. When it comes to the puncture to get access to pelvic LCL system, this study was published 5 years ago. This was compared against 17 expert surgeons and AI-driven robotic-assisted fluoroscopy-guided puncture. Here, the accuracy using this robotic system was almost 100% compared to 17 expert surgeons. This is amazing. And in Bangalore, we are developing this device. We have already validated in inanimate models and pig models. We are planning to take this to experiments, trials we are going to start. This is a single-armed robot we have developed in Bangalore with our startup called Comofi. It has a 6-degree freedom real-time visual feedback we get and force feedback we get. This is based on AI, AR, and computer vision-based platform. We have tested in mannequin models. The robotic accuracy is less than 200 nanometers, and AI module accuracy is more than 99%. Computer vision and AR module accuracy is 99%. This we have to validate in clinical trials, which will be starting in 3 to 4 months' time. That's about this. And when it comes to AI cystoscopy, you see here, it can identify where is the tumor. It can probably prompt you. It can show you the possible sites of carcinoma in situ, whether it's a low-grade tumor or high-grade tumor, whether you have resected completely or not, even the risk of recurrence and progression. Upfront, by looking at the tumor, it can tell you what are the chances of having muscle invasion. So all this information, which is humanly impossible, can be given by this. Digital pathology itself is entirely another topic we can discuss for 30 minutes. But I'm going to show you a few slides because we are one of the first hospitals to adopt this digital pathology in India. This is purely based on computer vision, and a lot of algorithms will be there. And many platforms are there. We are using Philips. Nadia, they are using Morpholens, and in America, it's PathoMIQ is very famous. And they have studied predominantly in prostate cancer pathology. So I'm going to show you a couple of slides using PathoMIQ, how it is going to different from manual reporting. So when you give these slides of prostate biopsy, the pathologist will tell you what is the Gleason score, what is the length of the core, percentage of tumor involvement, all those things. It takes maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whereas this one will give within 1 minute. It measures accurately the length of the core, quantity of the tumor, and it's reporting about Gleason 3, 4, 5 is just like this. You see on the right side, can you make out on here? Gleason 3 is 83.33%, Gleason 4 is 16%, Gleason 5 is not present, it is absent, because small focus of Gleason 5 may be present. Clinically, we may see that, we may tell that less than 5% is not significant, but it can be significant, it may be significant. And volume of the tumor is 9.17%. It can, whole mount preparation, if you give this to PathomIQ, it can develop a cell cluster graph like this, utilizing the spatial architecture of the nuclei, and it also understands the micro environment of the tumor. It can generate CCG graphs. When you compare with the TNM staging, the CCG graphs are far superior in predicting the outcomes of any disease for that matter. When you are operating a Gleason grade group 2 tumor and grade group 3 tumors, we always go with TNM classification. Low risk tumor, Gleason is 3+3, PSA is less than 10, is unlikely to recur, but we cannot understand the genetic background of the tumor. It can predict, even though it is a low risk tumor, what are the chances of recurrence. And in a high grade tumor, sometimes it may not recur. It may be organ confined microscopically. So all this information which which PathomIQ is going to give, based on this, we can either escalate or de-escalate the adjuvant strategies. Again, after surgery, what are the chances of recurrence and metastasis? It can tell you, depends on the hazard ratio which can give for biochemical recurrence here. Here in this tumor, its hazard ratio is 3.6, risk of recurrence is high, and even progression to metastasis at 3 years and 4 years, it can differentiate either low risk or high risk of recurrence and progression. When you give these kind of slides, pathologists' eyes cannot see the micro environment. Whereas this AI-based, computer vision-based algorithms can predict and can identify this kind of a small clusters of cancer cells which are going to change the outcome. And it will tell you when these cells are available in this slide, probably chemotherapy may not work or hormone therapy may not work, which we can correlate very well with the genetic background of the tumor. This is another PathomIQ. They have got a lot of patents for this. When you give the whole slide, they're going to divide the slide into 50,000 tiles, micro tiles, and each tile will be given, a computer is going to assign numeric value. Based on this numeric value, they are going to develop a score. Lower the score, they are going to respond. Higher the score, they're not going to respond. And this is correlated very well with the genetic background of the tumor. Say, for example, if BRCA1, BRCA2, HRR mutations are there, hormone therapy may not work that well. You have to add PARP inhibitors. If PTEN loss is there, sometimes hormone therapy and even chemotherapy may not work. So ipatasertib is the drug. Like that, it can prompt you by understanding the genetic background of the tumor without running all the genetic tests. So diving deep into AI and robotic surgery, which Dr. Rahul has asked me to do, there are many applications are there, which has been, couple of them were shown by previous speakers. I'm going to eliminate those. I'm going to show very interesting and important. We are all using this, Sureform staplers. When you're doing a radical cystectomy, after that you use this one. This is AI based. It avoids potential tissue damage. It automatically measures and adjusts the pressure. And when the pressure is not adequate, it is going to give a pass and it's going to press adequately, then only it fires. So this is definitely better than manual stapling, where we are not going to perceive the pressure, and a lot of safety features are incorporated into this. If the tissue is thicker, then it's going to prompt you select better stapler than the used one. So all this information is given by AI, which is inbuilt into X system and XI system. And this is augmented reality imaging. This is very essential when you're doing partial nephrectomy. We get some information by 3D. It can guide the surgeon's instruments where to dissect the artery, where to dissect the vein, and where is the tumor. You can even mark out the margins, what kind of margins you would like to get. And it can even prompt when you go very close to the tumor. So all these advantages are there with augmented reality. AI boss monitors your surgery and it can guide. When the Formula One driver gets a lot of information, lot of analytical information he gets from his team. Similarly, when you're doing a surgery, if somebody is guiding, either senior or if senior is not there, a surgical control tower, which is AI driven, which can understand the dynamics of the tissue and which you are going to feed all the preoperative and intraoperative data. It can analyze and it can tell you what are the possibilities of getting positive margin at the resection site, and what is the site of dissection, is plane of dissection is right or not. All those things real time it can guide you. This is already available, may not be available in India. Again, is it possible to, when we are selecting the length of the bowel, how are we going to select? We put a tape inside or a thread inside, we measure. These AI tools are available, which can measure the size of the tumor, intrapelvic urethral length, bowel segment length, and length of the ureter. Whatever is required, it can measure with these AI tools. Again, safety. When you're doing partial nephrectomy or any surgery for that matter, sometimes out of the field, these instruments can go and can cause damage. It can get into adjacent organs. You can create a no-fly zone. Here, you see, you are creating a no-fly zone. If your instrument is going near that, it will give you a prompt. You're going near that, it may be in the field or outside the field, so that you can avoid tissue injury. This is again tissue identification and feedback. This is very helpful in whenever toxic fat is there and endophytic tumors are there. When you don't have technologies required to identify this tumor, or when you are operating in a recurrence case or after multiple surgeries, when you are going inside, you cannot identify the tissue. Whereas this A-based tools can identify what is colon, what is peritoneum, what is fat tissue, what is the tumor, whether it's a kidney or not, toxic fat. All those information is very useful when you're operating. This may not be required every time, but in certain situations, probably it's going to give you and guide you where to dissect. And coming to 3D models, kidney 3D models are very popular in India. Many companies are producing this. In Bangalore, we have Urology company, which is developing 3D models based on CECT images. And earlier to this, inner site, we validated their inner site model for kidney tumors. To get a prostate model is very, very difficult. You see here, this is all the green ones are the tumors in a multiple bilateral tumors. You can understand the anatomy of the kidney, anatomy of the tumor, anatomy of the pelvic cell system, and arterial anatomy and venous anatomy. You can understand. You can directly go and dissect the artery and vein looking at the anatomy of this. Any selective clamping, what is the blood supply to that particular tumor, all those things you can understand better. This is a new one. This probably you must not have seen. This we developed in collaboration with Pittsburgh researchers recently. This is our first case. Along with the prostate and the tumor, you can incorporate the nerve sheets. These are not the neurons. These are the nerve sheets. We demonstrated using a special software to acquire the images. This is called DTI image, diffusion tensor imaging. And with this, utilizing 2-3 different softwares, we have developed this kind of a neurovascular bundle, which is overlapping on the prostate. Here is the tumor. You can make out this tumor has come out of the capsule. You can make out this. This is a T3A disease. Whether to preserve the nerves on this side, how to preserve the nerves, all those things you can discuss with the patient preoperatively. And this patient was a doctor, so we decided to excise this neurovascular bundle on the left side, because here you can make out the tumor has come out of the capsule. So we excise this neurovascular bundle completely to give a negative margin, because the tumor was 4+4, and completely we preserved the neurovascular bundle on the left side, right side. You can make out the anatomy from patient to patient is different anatomy, and the way nerves run over that. But we cannot see that. This will give a lot of insights during surgery. You can make out the same here. The tumor has come out. This is going to change the way we understand the prostate anatomy and even the neurovascular bundle anatomy. Not just that, you can make out the anatomy of with this, we have developed this model, Pinnacle model. We can understand the apex of the prostate and the sphincteric complex. Sometimes the prostate can extend beyond the sphincter. How to control that, how to prevent getting a positive margins. All those insights you can get preoperatively, and it will become a training tool for youngsters. And we have in the DV5 system, force feedback is already there, and we can understand the all this while we have been understanding getting the tactile feedback through visual feedback. Now we can get real tactile feedback, and we can also adjust the force feedback, either low, mid, or high, depends on your requirement. It feels as if you are doing open surgery. And when it comes to objective performance indices, comparing with the experienced and versus inexperienced surgeons, you can make out inexperienced surgeon performing the movements on the top and experienced surgeons performing this. Of performing various steps of the surgery, here is a bladder mobilization, seminal vesicle dissection, anterior vesicular anastomosis, and right lymphadenectomy. You see the movements of the camera, or movements of the right hand and the left hand instruments. You can probably, by analyzing all these things, proficiency or efficiency of the surgeon can be, you can label them whether they're experienced surgeons. You can understand the learning curve. Depending on that, you can probably give better tasks. So again, these OPAs are very important. This is published recently, and I will not go to the details of that. The future of robotic surgery is autonomous robots. This is already there. Because of lack of time, I will not show this completely. This is using the computer vision and machine learning algorithms. Robotic device is doing autonomous suturing. This will come in future. And all these things are happening with the available computers. The future of computing is quantum computing. This has just started. We don't have the proper language for this. Probably it takes about 6 to 10 years. With that, our computing ability can be much faster. And to conclude, AI has been revolutionizing healthcare system, not just healthcare system, every system which we are going to use in our day-to-day life, allowing physicians to improve their ability to perform surgical tasks. And AI would certainly improve diagnostic accuracy, expedite clinical process, and decrease the human errors and resource cost. When we adopt this one, automatically cost will come down. Like humans, these machines can retain large amount of information and become smarter over time. And the cost of this will eventually come down. Unfortunately, like humans or unlike humans, these are not going to sleep. This can work for 24/7. And AI has emerged as an enabling tool to urologists. It is not going to replace our jobs, but at every step, at every surgery, it is going to empower us in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Raghunath. It is mesmerizing to listen to you and to understand that we need to learn a lot of things. And listening to your talk, it feels that the uro-oncologists are going to change the way they practice. That is surely going to change for the cancer patients. Thank you very much for sparing time on a weekend. We are just running short of time. So I would request Dr. Bhandari sir to please give a very important talk for all those who have joined. And if they are really interested in learning AI, how can they learn AI and from where they can learn the right way? Bhandari sir, please.
Thank you, Rahul, and other office bearers of the Urology Society of India and ISA. Today is 22nd February. 8 o'clock, I have graduated. It is a shameless self-aggrandization. I did a course on data science and machine learning, making data-driven decision making. It was a grueling course run by MIT for the last 5 months. There could not be a better opportune time to tell you guys with my first-hand experience, how should you learn AI? Number one, I always debated that whether anything can be taught or it is learned. I would favor that you can learn a thing. Teaching might be an aid, but you need to learn. And you need to learn on your own. I would like to generalize the learning or a fellowship program or a long-term programs because the way the things are changing every second, as Ray Kurzweil, the Google technical director, said, this century would not be of 100 years. It would be 20,000 times more than a century. So you can see that how much is the rapid development, and courses by the time you do are already obsolete. So we are talking of nano courses. Now, when you are talking of urology fraternity, it cannot be one solution for everybody. Number one, I have a frank confession. Harshit talked beautiful talk on how can you make very attractive slides. And mine is a sterile U-turn that I feel slides distance me from the audience. So for this lecture, I'm not using any slides. Not that I'm totally against, but I like to share my thoughts and interact with you. So when you are talking of learning, why you want to learn AI is a question, not because there's so much of noise, hype around you. Everybody's talking about AI. Every newspaper is talking about AI. Every news media is talking about AI. No, you need to know why do you want to learn AI. The first question is, irrespective of your status, resident, fellow, faculty, academic, non-academic, practicing, non-practicing, everybody would need to know AI in some form or the other. Otherwise, you would not be able to keep a pace with what you do. So the point is, if you are young students or young trainees with energies, most of you, I would like you to take bet on a long-term horse and don't take shortcuts, because you need to prepare for future. You need to practice. We lived our life whichever way it was, but this is totally a new epoch entering. And I would suggest you learn from the basics. And urologists already or scientists have domain knowledge, but they need to learn technology, which I learned very hard way. When we built computer vision models or predictive models, we gave the data and worked with the technical team, but then we realized that we were not able to contribute, or they were not able to understand feature selection or component analysis or hypertuning the model, or finding out whether the models are optimization algorithms. So we had to believe what they thought without their domain knowledge. And then I made a decision. You may not do coding, but you need to know why they are taking a decision to make the model or which network to be utilized. So I would highly recommend you to learn the basics of computer science and the AI model and predictive decision making right from the grassroots, not taking a shortcut, and you would not regret my statement. Coming to the practicing urologist, there are two ways to do it. Particularly, I see a lot of people are entrepreneur urologists, and they are owning the hospitals. Like Malik is an example who gave a beautiful talk on it. For such setup, there are two options. One of them is to hire an agency and nurture your all data and build the models. It would be very expensive way to do the things. And then you would become dependent on these people, technical people. There would be software costs, there would be interactive software costs, and the management costs. The best way to do is that we should create a single source of truth. In the business language, it is known as single source of truth. I have seen in institutions, and my own institution, people with interest would have a stone database. They would have with what you call bladder cancer database. They would have different databases in silos. And I would suggest at least the institutions should start thinking of creating a single source of truth, a data lake. And then rather than creating an overall umbrella of AI, you should take a problem and build data around solving that problem. Take a single problem, simple problem. When should a catheter come out, or how long you should keep a stent? Very simple questions. You build the data around and answer that problem, but you need to have an understanding of the databases. Another way to learn is keep on harping, like USI is doing. I have participated in at least half a dozen programs in last 12 months in different forums, different zones. That is the right way to approach the subject. You have to really beat the drums. And people brought in very interesting aspect of, and I can comment on everything, but I would not digress except for trying to talk on what would be the right practice to acknowledge. And one thing would always have, regulatory would keep on changing, is the honesty and transparency. One, honesty that whatever you do, you transparently disclose. It is for a journal. Journals have all kinds. Competitions are different natures. Whether they would have a stigma to have a chat GPT produced presentation or a project or not is their prerogative, as long as you disclose it. Very soon, it would not be possible to discriminate or catch, because everything would be done by that, because you see these tools are now integrated with your every program as add-ons. And when I used to write Python codes during exercises, AI would come and disturb me and write codes for me. It would be very hard to segregate that. And only thing which will help you to be transparent is to acknowledge and to make disclosure about it. Now, this is how I practically use AI. Number one, first you consume your imagination. So, very rightly said, everything is writing in the prompts. If you want to make a PowerPoint presentation, consume your knowledge and write it down. And then AI enhances your scope of thinking. It stretches your imagination. It will give you 20 more things. Again, the ball is on your court to do two things. One is to validate whether it concurs with your knowledge or not. And the second thing is, which is very important, is whether it makes any sense or not, or it is just a hallucination. That is, again, you have to use your knowledge to sit on the end. The second thing I love to use AI, which I used to use, because I'm not a basically coder, and I had to use a lot of Python strings to understand the things, and I would understand it. And it was very handy for me, and this was encouraged. This was told to us by teachers. Use Google, use different help sources. So if I put it, and you can understand, and same thing you can do. If you have a difficult statistical application in a paper, you might as well put it on ChatGPT. But again, what I say, sandwich ChatGPT or any AI tool between humans here and humans at the end. And same thing is happening in everything. Self-driven cars, 5 model is not going to work where it would be totally autonomous driven. It has to begin with humans, it has to end with humans. And mind you, it's a kind of augmented intelligence where your inputs or human feedback loop is the most important thing for you to do. Now, the best way to understand what everybody should do, road to success to AI, what my predecessor, previous speaker, Raghunath, beautifully illustrated. The spectrum of possibilities begins with the data, and you need to understand the data. What is good data? What is big data? And how can you make veracity of the data, accuracy of the data? Because computer is no nonsense. It would not really tolerate anything which is not black and white. So you need to understand computer language. I mentioned in my talks when we were doing annotations and computer vision models, we did face this problem because surgeons are very gross. They identify a structure, and as a surgeon, I confess, we identify only two things: what has to be saved and what can be sacrificed. That's it. but there are lots of slips in between them. So I would say that I would leave my talk here, and all I would like to summarize by telling, number one, everybody needs to learn AI. Everybody needs to find out why he's learning AI, because he has to answer. Yes, your answer could be that you want to be the top run AI specialist. That is fine. Then you do MD, PhD way, like Andrea is doing after his PhD in computer science. He is wanting to do MD in medicine. Then second thing is there would be youngsters who has their whole life to face developments of AI. It would be very hard to learn in a sloppy way. They should build a foundation and learn it. And third thing is what I would say that for the people who are practicing, they should learn AI specific to the problem. You define a problem and build the models accordingly and collaborate more and more with the people. And I think as regards to regular fellowship programs and all, they would follow as a corollary. I would like to stop here and give it back to Rahul.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's always nice to see that at your age also you are still learning. So it's an inspiration to all of us. Without wasting time, Shashank, are you ready with your presentation?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
This shall be the last for the day. We have all been waiting, and let's see where to stop now. Thank you. Take over.
So I'll keep it very
Shashank,
short.
just 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, we'll keep it very short and simple. It's the late evening on the Saturday. And thank you very much to USI and ISU for giving me this opportunity. Is my slide visible?
Yes.
Is my
Yes,
slide?
Yes, Shashank. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we've had some very, very senior and august people talking about AI, and it was a great learning experience. I'll just conclude this discussion today with summarizing the pitfalls in AI. Where should we stop? So we'll cover it under 6 headings. We'll keep it short. Data inaccuracy and bias, lack of contextual understanding, over-reliance on AI, ethical and legal concerns, lack of transparency, and data privacy and security risks. To begin, first of all, I would offer this to every one of us who are using AI. As Bhandari sir said, consume the knowledge first and then use AI. This is exactly my point, that you have to use AI with a pinch of salt. There are 2 basic use cases for AI. One is to create content, whether it's images or text or medical literature. And the other is to get recommendations like treatment decisions or to allow it to do certain surgical maneuvers. While this technology is developing, in the domain of content creation, it has been seen that AI content is lacking the human flavor. So you might use it to get pointers or to get some info on your topic, but then you add a pinch of salt, which is your human flavor, before presenting it. So rather than presenting a bland AI-generated content, we should add our own human flavor to it, for which we need to use our own knowledge. The second is taking recommendations or allowing AI to take decisions. We should take all those decisions with a pinch of salt. AI is known to create a lot of wrong decisions, a lot of hallucinations, as told by previous speakers. I'll demonstrate a couple of those in the next slides. So data inaccuracy and bias is a very common problem. And in the domain of healthcare, it's a major problem. AI models rely on large data sets for training. If the data used is incomplete, outdated, or biased, the AI system may produce incorrect or skewed results. Trained predominantly on data from a particular demographic, it may not perform well for other populations. This is why exactly institutes in our own country, institutes in our own geography should develop the data models first, and then on the basis of that, we should use them. So I'll just show you one real scenario where I used AI to create an image of the prostate showing cancer in the left lobe and label the parts. This was my prompt to ChatGPT. And just look at the outcome that was given. GPT says this is a detailed medical illustration of the prostate gland showing cancer in the left lobe with labeled parts. To a layman, it may look like a beautiful three-dimensional colorful image. To all urologists, it is a ridiculous image. It has no anatomical accuracy in it. It is a completely hallucinated image with no resemblance to the reality. And you can also see that all the labeling also is off the mark. Even the spellings are off the mark. So the point is, the data inaccuracy and bias is a major problem. Apart from what Dr. Raghunath showed, which is the high-level professional AI programs, which are being trained, which are being used, that is the way to go forward, and not use the commercially available or the common public use AI things to create content for use in the health domain. Solutions would be to ensure diverse and representative data sets, regularly update and validate the AI models with new medical data, which has to be authentic, and conduct bias assessments before deployment. So, has been said earlier, GIGO, or garbage in and garbage out. There's a lot of garbage which is being fed into the AI systems, and especially the AI used by common public is not fit for use for professionals, for specialties where, something like healthcare should not be used in that domain. Next, lack of contextual understanding. AI lacks human intuition and contextual comprehension. It can analyze patterns in medical images or lab reports. This has been beautifully shown by previous speakers with respect to stone detection on CT or Gleason scores on prostate biopsies. But it may fail to consider patient history, comorbidities, or unique symptoms that a physician would naturally take into account. Again, in this domain, the specialized AI which is being developed by various institutes are going to make it better. I did a small test on GPT again, and this was my prompt. You are a urologist. A patient who has undergone an angioplasty a few weeks back presents with inability to void despite medical therapy. He has an enlarged prostate. He also has a past history of ischemic stroke. His ultrasound scan shows a prostate of about 32 cc and a post-void of 312 ml. What treatment will you recommend? So this is like a very common real-world scenario that I gave to GPT. And while it performed well on certain aspects, like it talked about immediate urinary drainage, it talked about medical management with the relevant drugs, it also gave a warning about avoiding anticholinergics. It also talked about being wary of the anticoagulation. It jumped straight away to definitive treatment options in the form of TURP and the various other minimally invasive surgical options. What is important to understand is that all of us urologists here, I'll go back to the history. All of us urologists here would once consider about the bladder contractility in this patient. For a 30 cc prostate, a 312 ml PVR is quite high, and we would consider the possibility of an underactive bladder and maybe investigate it with a urodynamic or do other things. Just because I fed a word called he has an enlarged prostate made GPT jump to the standard treatment of prostatomegaly and give it just the way it would be. So this is a big problem. This is lack of understanding of the contextual understanding that as physicians we have, and that is very, very important in everyday life. So AI should function as an assistive tool rather than an independent decision maker as of now. Physicians must interpret AI outputs within the broader clinical context, and hybrid models integrating AI with expert human judgment should be prioritized. So as Bhandari sir said, you should sandwich the AI between humans. So on one end, there should be the expert human with the domain knowledge, and on the other end also there should be another human. Over-reliance on AI can become a big problem, especially with a lot of automation happening. Clinicians may become overly dependent on AI-generated recommendations, reducing their own critical thinking and diagnostic reasoning. This can lead to errors if AI misinterprets data or provides incorrect conclusions. We are at that juncture where the importance of domain knowledge cannot be overemphasized. Our next generation of urologists should be taught that the original knowledge of urology is very important to be able to utilize AI for real world scenarios. Maintain a balance between AI assistance and human expertise. Implement second opinion mechanisms and human review checkpoints. Encourage continuous medical education on AI's capabilities and limitations. Ethical and legal concerns are a major problem, and they're going to increase with time. Patient data privacy and AI-driven medical decisions pose significant ethical and legal challenges. Misuse or unauthorized access to sensitive health information can lead to violations of patient confidentiality. There are lots of cases which have been filed against the use of AI, and this has happened in other industries, other streams, like a mother sued AI chatbot for her son's suicide. AI hallucinations in court papers spell trouble for lawyers. This was a major problem because it included fictitious case citations, just like it includes fictitious research papers when we do a review of literature with the help of AI. So we have to be very careful. And in one claim, very recently in 2025, Do Not Pay's AI lawyer, they created the world's first robot lawyer. And Do Not Pay's AI failed to match human lawyer expertise, and the company had to pay $193,000 in monetary relief and to notify its subscribers about the settlement. So if a company comes with the world's first robot urologist or the world's first AI physician, we have to be very careful about recommending it or putting it into use. Solution would again be implementing strict data protection measures like encryption access control, comply with the medical regulations such as HIPAA and GDPR previously mentioned, and establish clear legal accountability for AI-generated medical decisions. Lack of transparency. So Andrea had talked about the black box concept. Many AI models, especially deep learning systems, operate as black boxes, making it difficult to understand how they arrive at specific conclusions. This lack of transparency reduces the trust among medical professionals and patients. We have to develop AI models with interpretable algorithms, which provide clear explanations for AI-driven medical recommendations. And there should be peer reviews and audits of AI decision-making processes, just as we've done with the human recommendations in the past. Data privacy and security risks, unauthorized access to sensitive data, data breaches and cybersecurity threats, bias and discrimination risks, regulatory and compliance challenges, and data ownership and consent issues. These have been talked about. These are things for which regulatory authorities have to take stuff seriously in the domain of healthcare all the more. So I conclude by saying that artificial intelligence plus human intelligence is augmented intelligence. Bhandari sir used this word in his talk as well, that the future is going to be of augmented intelligence. So this is what we need to be careful about. Forget artificial intelligence. In the brave new world of big data, it's artificial idiocy we should be looking out for. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
Thank you, Shashanka. And just to conclude what you talked, I fully agree with you that the common data which is available should be used only as assistant tools instead of decision making. And as I already said, we are heading towards interesting times. And just before I conclude, I really want to thank Dr. Arun sir. He has been inspirational to me and helping me organize this thing. Sujata ma'am and Dr. Surya. So I just hand it over to you for the final comments. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Apul, for conducting a wonderful session. Ma'am is there.
Yeah. I'm here. So I would really like to thank Rahul and Dr. Arun Chawla sir for conceptualizing this program and it being our first webinar, and we had an attendance of more than 104, and thanks Rahul and Surya for conducting this program. I'm really thankful to you. And of course our teacher, who still at the age of 79 is encouraging us to learn more and more. And I like his attitude towards life, and he wants us to start from basics. I think we have to take inspiration from him and start learning AI and judiciously use it as time goes. I would like to thank all our speakers, Dr. Mallikarjuna sir and Rajeev, Kumar and Harshit and Dr. Raghunath and Andrews and also Shashank, and for Arvind for his comments. So thank you everyone, and wish you a good night and a happy weekend.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank
Surya.
you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, madam.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rahul.
everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Nabiji. Thank you for bearing with us. We overshot today. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you,
very much.
sir.